What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the MCU Reviewed here on the Geekiverse station. We've got the video on YouTube, the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. It's an exciting episode, as always, right? Today, we are talking about the Black Panther. Now, guys, I can't believe that we've made it this far. And no, I'm not talking 18 movies into the MCU. I'm talking about this far into the episode without my computer crashing. This is good stuff. So, I'm Josiah Leroy, as always, with me. Baba Yaga, John Fick. John, how are you, my friend?
I am very happy to be here talking about the MCU once again with you guys.
Same. JT, how are you tonight?
Excited for one of my favorite movies in the MCU. I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm happy. Just love being around my boys. Joe, John. Hi.
Who's got you smiling like that?
I just like you guys.
The feeling is mutual. I'm excited to be doing this with you guys as always. Man, Black Panther. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff here in the next however many minutes to an hour. As we always gush about Marvel, but lots to get to. Whether it's the initial viewing for the movie that we all witnessed, the first time we saw that trailer. We're gonna talk box office numbers. I've got some notes on it, and of course, towards the end of the episode, we are gonna rank the MCU movies to date, what we've seen so far. And we're going to tell you where we think Black Panther falls on that list. Very excited to see that. I'm pretty confident that it'll get up there. So time will tell. Stick with us throughout the episode. As always, the show here is presented by Fanteestic. That's FANTESTIC. Wow, almost butchered that. That is a division of 26 shirts. If you don't know 26 shirts, go to 26shirts.com/Fanteestic. What they do, they sell t-shirts, but what they really do is they raise money to those in need. They give it to families, to charities, to individuals who are having a tough time. To date, they have raised over $1.2 million that has gone directly to these families, these individuals, these charities. Kind of amazing, and it's awesome to see as we get down every few episodes, just that number increases. They've got a lot of pop culture designs. If you are from Western New York, like we are, and love the Buffalo Bills, you're going to want to go check out no shortage of incredible Bills Mafia apparel. Again, that's 26shirts.com and 26shirts.com/Fanteestic. All right, fellas, Black Panther, right in the middle of a hot streak of MCU movies. We had Thor Ragnarok right before it. We have Avengers Infinity War on deck here. Lots of stuff right in the middle. Could have been overshadowed really easily. That is not the case. Black Panther is a standout movie, and in my opinion, one of the best origin stories, or we'll say first stories for a standalone character in the entire MCU. John, why don't we go to you first on just your kind of 101 thoughts?
Yeah, Black Panther's rad, man. I think when this movie came out, expectations were super, super high just because of the marketing and the cast and the trailers and stuff like that, and because of what we saw from that character in Civil War. And it's one of those where, I mean, we're on a streak where Marvel just met and exceeded expectations film after film. It is such a good movie. Like you said, very much one of the best origin stories. Sets up not only Black Panther, the characters around him, but Wakanda as a new place and a character. It's really good. I will say that when I came out of that movie, we'll talk about like our first viewing experience. I thought it was like my favorite MCU movie, period. Even, we're talking post Thor Ragnarok and, Guardians and Homecoming. Obviously, we haven't gotten to some of the big ones yet, but I had it up there as number one. And I will say the more I watch it, the more I come down on it in a little bit. It's still incredible. I still love the movie, but it doesn't sit with me as high as it did the first time I saw it. And I noticed that this rewatch I just did the other night, I was watching it and I'm like, this movie's incredible. I love everything about it, but man, just thinking back about the list that we made, what are we, 17, 18 weeks into this, a lot of stiff competition. So we'll get to that ranking.
For sure, a lot of stiff competition. And what's funny is I think that my ranking or viewing on it has gone up over time.
Interesting.
Not that the needle has moved a lot.
Same
but
here.
I think I don't know if you guys feel the same way, or at least John, but sometimes I think people hold this movie to a standard almost like I look at Winter Soldier, where I'm like, yeah, I enjoy it. It's a good movie. But like people sometimes will have Winter Soldier top of the top, right? And I think some people would have this high on that list as well. And not to disparage any of that, by the way. It's just it may not be we'll save it for the rankings.
Right. Like
JT.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, so I first say kind of what John was saying is more so just the pressure that they had coming off of all these great movies. Us already putting Ragnarok at one, kind of foreshadowing in a way, but like to be so successful and have such a good movie after that pressure. I mean, the hype was insane. I specifically myself, like I knew how hyped it was for this. I thought it was going to be great, a lot because of Civil War and how the characters portrayed in the first place. But to really be successful in that pressure elevates it that much more for me. So like I think I'm in between the both of you, maybe more towards Josiah, in that I still see it as every time I watch it, it gets better, right? And just because knowing, Infinity War is up like right there. Everybody knows Infinity War is coming, and for this movie to be so good before that comes, I mean, you got to give the credit.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm down in the movie by saying that I the more I watch it, the more I don't like it. That's true, but like we're talking about on such a grand scale. I was saying when I came out of this film, it was my absolute favorite. I think what it is the story is so good, and there are so many twists and turns and like suspenseful moments with the characters and plot twists that once you've experienced that, and like I was so high on that after seeing it. You rewatch that stuff, you know what's happening. So maybe it's just a product of that. One thing I will say is that this is one of the best standalone movies, period, that the MCU has done. It's just like you can tell they made more than a superhero movie here, and they made more than an MCU movie. There's so much like attention to detail when it comes to culture, like the all African American black cast. Like it's so well done. The music, the set pieces, like you can tell they were really trying to make something different and something special here, and on that they just crush it on all fronts.
Yeah, even to bring it in the certain comedic moments, and it just felt into that culture, right? And it was, I know, seen a lot in like social media or just on the news and stuff when it first came out. Like it was the first representation for the Black community, right? It was the first. We had Falcon as a hero in the MCU already, but this is the movie for that culture, and it was just awesome to see, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think JT, it's a really good point that it stands out or it stands strong when you even throw it in the middle of all those movies, whether it's Ragnarok or Infinity War, and that's saying a lot, right? Like to be able to bridge that gap and really be something special. Obviously, really unfortunate that we lost Chadwick Boseman so early. I was really excited to see what he was going to do with this character moving forward. I felt like he was just scratching the surface. From the moment we saw him in Civil War, I was so enamored and interested and ready to learn about his character and Wakanda and everything that was going to be going on in Black Panther as we move forward. Obviously next year we're still scheduled to get Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, but we're not going to have Chadwick. So it's a little bit sad, of course, to see someone go early in general. Selfishly, superficially, as a movie fan in one of the MCU, like I said, I would love to have seen what he was going to do with this character, in the foreseeable future. Box office. So this one was quite incredible. So domestic, this did over 700 million. International 646 for a combined 1.3 billion and change. That's a lot. Granted, there was a streak, right? Like these Marvel movies that started cranking. That is really, really impressive. That's going to hold up as that's never going to go away. You can't take that away from Black Panther. 1.3 billion. So, kind of amazing to see. I love to see those numbers as we kind of go back and think pre-pandemic what some of that looked like and the bonkers off the wall numbers we were seeing on these. I mean, not sure if we'll ever see those again, but man, John, $1.3 billion.
Yeah, it's nuts. Just like your last sentiment, I'm really curious to know if we'll ever get back to numbers like that in this new world we live in. Very curious.
Yeah, and not even necessarily people getting back to theaters, but how we track them, how we sell movies.
Right.
Do we do an at home and an in theater release? Is it only at home? Like I think that dynamic is always going to be changing as we move forward. I don't think it's one rule kind of moving forward like it was. You have your phase. It's in theaters. It gets to a home box office. After you can sell so many 4K or Blu-ray copies, then you get it to like a Disney Plus. Those days are over. So
Agreed.
Be interesting to see where that goes. Now, do you guys remember your first experience with this movie in theaters? For me, I'll kind of start. What's weird is I saw this at Flicks in Lancaster, and typically always going to Regal or AMC. Just happened to be I saw it with a few people in the Geekiverse, and they were going out that way, and we wanted to get together, so that's where I ended up seeing it. But this came out in early 2018. I just remember being really excited for it as usual. The energy in the theater was awesome, and then as the movie was ending, I kind of felt like, okay, now I am all in and ready to go on Infinity War. Like, that was it. This was the last event before that movie, and it's kind of started my my anticipation, I guess, as we're getting to Infinity War just a few months later. So I don't know if either of you want to go next, but do you remember anything from that first theater experience?
Yeah. So this is just funny. So I remember this specifically. It was not opening night, so I did the next day for that Friday, and I remember texting my little brother. For some reason, my older brother, because I like my Marvel crew I watched the movies with. I just remember my older brother couldn't, but I couldn't wait to watch it because like I was so hyped for this movie, like everybody else in the world probably was. And I remember texting my little brother, like, "You're going at 12:15. I don't care." Like, I took him out of high school. Like, I literally picked him up and said, "You have family emergency. We're going to watch this." So we went and watched it, and we walked out in awe. Like, my little brother is very, very, very critical of movies. Like, he looks at the in-depthness of all the things you can think of when it comes to movie making. And he even walked out like, "Wow, that was like great." So just give him a little credit for his criticisms. But it was just, I was in awe. Like, I literally walked out the theater. I'm just like, that is kind of what John said. It's probably the best movie I watched so far in the MCU.
Yeah. My first viewing, very similar, like I talked about earlier, reaction at least. I went with my huge crew. I was working at Apple at the time, so a bunch of us nerds were all, the second tickets dropped. We all made sure we basically bought out 2 rows. So we went that Thursday night before. I think we went at like 6 or 7, one of the first showings. It was at the mall because I know I just got off work and just sprinted down there to make sure I got there in time. But I just remember all of us walking out, and specifically me and my buddy Sam were walking back to our car, and we're like, man, they did it. That is maybe the best movie in the MCU. Like, they just crushed it on all fronts. It was so good. And I think I went back and saw it the following weekend with my now wife, then girlfriend at the time. It's so good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think very similar experience for all of us there. And I mean, man, that was the heyday of fun when it came to the next big release, right? You had your crew there, and just, man, exciting times. You always felt that energy in the room, and I think that theater experience is so important to films like this.
No doubt.
Boys, do we want to cue up the trailer?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So if you are listening to the podcast version, you're going to hear the trailer. Afterwards, we're going to talk about it. Obviously, if you are watching on YouTube or the website at thegeekiverse.com, you'll be able to kind of watch the trailer with us. Right. John, I will pass it over to you.
Oh, I think we lost John. Oh, wow. He came back instantly. At least his face is back. Is he fully back? There he is. Look at that, John.
Oh, there he is. All right.
You just keep, he just keeps hanging up the call. He's sick of this.
Let's do the third time.
I'm like Joe 2.0, 3.0 out here.
You're like misclicking. My system just dies on me.
Yeah, well, I just feel like you because I just keep leaving.
It's not by choice.
Oh my God. MC review tab. Got it. All right.
You guys both have it up? All right. Go ahead and play.
I have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky. Yeah. But I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding? Hold up. Let's go. We are home. My son, it is your time. Show me my respect and bow down.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be. Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
The revolution will not be televised.
Show me my respect and bow down. We own ya, we own ya. We only getting started now, cause we own ya. Everybody think they know me now, cause we own ya. You and I, my homie, yeah, cause we own ya.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all.
What happens now determines what happens to the rest of the world.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. Wakanda forever! The revolution will not be televised. Let's have some fun. The revolution will be live.
I know I've said it before, and I forget what it was. Maybe it was Guardians, but I think that's the best trailer in the MCU so far. That I remember how hyped up I got when I first saw that. It did such a good job at capturing what this movie was about to be. So good. The style, the humor, like that awe of Wakanda. So good.
I'm going to say this right now. That's the coolest trailer that we've seen to date for the MCU. And Black Panther is the coolest of the superheroes. And we've got a lot of cool ones in there.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think that trailer does really encapsulate what we were going to see. Shows a lot, but it doesn't give away a lot,
right.
In my opinion, either. It pieces together so many different scenarios from the movie. I mean, and my gosh, I'm going to talk about it later. The soundtrack to this movie is phenomenal. Like, a huge fan. It is probably the only... It's rare that I listen to a movie soundtrack. That's one that I've got ready to go just about at all times. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where like movie soundtracks are not something I keep like on my Apple Music library, but I have Black Panther there, and I put that thing on shuffle all the time. It's so good.
Dude, I had it for a few years back. Our Nickel City Con Geekiverse was a sponsor of that. I had it on our playlist. Like, that's what played every morning at our booth, bar none. I was like, well, if you guys are over here, this is what we're listening to. Yeah, it's the best.
It's Black Panther and Spider-Verse. That's it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that.
I just finished watching this, and because of that trailer, I'm going to watch it again tomorrow. Like, I literally, just, my hairs are standing up.
Yeah,
that is so dope. That is so good. That is hands down. I don't think anybody, maybe Black Panther 2, any trailer will ever supersede that. Ever.
Yeah,
ever.
That's super cool.
No chance.
It's just, it's great, and I love the essence it captures there. You've got some action sequences, just a little bit of humor, just enough, to keep that MCU flavor going. And man, if it didn't pique your interest after that, I'm not sure really what would.
I was, because we all know with the like one of the Fantastic Four tries with Michael B. Jordan in it. I was skeptical about him being in the MCU at first, but I remember specifically saying, he's going to kill this role when I saw the small little part he had in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm no spoiler head for picks, but oh my God.
Come on. There's no spoilers. Killmonger is the best. He's the best villain in the MCU. I mean, your only argument's Thanos. Your only argument's Thanos. Come on. Killmonger is freaking perfect.
Yeah. I think this took Michael B. Jordan to a new level. I mean, he was already an established name. Yes, but this was nail in the coffin for me with him. Right. He was magnificent. He was raw. I think that's the best word to describe him in this role. Before we get to favorite non-title character, which there's a lot to choose from. Like, not gonna have a problem selecting a handful. How many times you guys think you've seen this movie? Granted, we're getting closer, right? We're closer to the end of the MCU. So it's not like I go back to Iron Man 1 and I feel like I've seen it like 15 times, right? Because I do all these rewatches. This one just came out 3.5 years ago. So, I mean, how many times do you think you've seen it?
Probably 6 to 7. Yeah, if I'm kind of just mapping out in my head, I think 6 to 7 feels about right. I saw it twice in theaters. I know I've watched it in the lead up to Infinity War and Endgame, and I've just tossed it on a few times here or there. So that probably feels right, 6 or 7.
JT.
Anywhere from 9 to 12. It's one of the ones I throw on the side to watch too. Like
Yeah.
it's just so good.
This is one I've always got to sit down to watch. I know we've talked about maybe movies we can have in the background versus focused. Like this is one I've got to
Right.
sit and watch for a number of reasons. One of which is the visuals. So, John, you're very excited about this. This time I watched this for this rewatch is the first time I watched it in 4K.
Ooh, that HDR, dude. The HDR in this movie is so good.
Man, they nailed it.
They did.
They just
the colors, the overall vibe, style, and design of the set pieces in Wakanda, the characters' outfits, everything like that, super stylish. But you did say visuals. I have a huge gripe with the CGI in the final fight of this movie. Does that bother anybody else? When Black Panther and Killmonger are both in their suits are fighting in that low lit basement with the freight car coming through, it looks like legitimately bad to me. Every time I watch it, I'm like, why do they do this in low light? CG doesn't work good without natural light, and this is all CG. It's just like two pieces of rubber fighting each other. That's like my biggest gripe about the movie in general. And it's not a huge one, but it's just a decision they made, and it does stand out to me.
Might have been a running out of budget situation.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I can't imagine.
It's Disney.
John, I do agree with that. Particularly, one thing that always catches my eye is when they're falling.
Yes. Very
They
much
look
so.
like they all of a sudden can fly because they can push off the air.
Yes.
Which it doesn't look like they're meant to. It looks like it's bad.
It's weird. I have an eye for that. Like I'm a stickler for CGI, and not like in the way that it's going to make or break a movie. It's just that I appreciate when it's good, and it stands out to me when it's not. And that just specifically that scene, it's very good throughout the rest of the movie. It's just bad in that one.
So how about visuals in the context of like when they first come into Wakanda or
Chills.
how about the car chase sequence? I love the purple theme. That is constant in this movie, right? Because it's part of the color palette. So you see that a lot, and I think they really do that in a nice way, as most of the MCU does. Like there's some outliers where it's like, okay, a little too much or not enough. This one does a good job with sticking to that, where it's got those dark tones with how the black and purple mesh, especially in that chase sequence. Like I always think back to that.
Agreed for sure. That sequence in general is just so much fun.
It's great. And even the things like when Shuri's driving essentially virtually the car, right? Like that looks really good. It could look really bad. One of my notes touches on one thing here that they did a few things, but one thing that stood out to me that they did better than Star Wars did, which we'll get into. What about, all right, let's do this. And I'm not going to go first. Favorite, I know sometimes we
No. It's not fair.
All right, rock, paper, scissors right now.
No, go ahead, John. Talk about him. Gas him up.
Favorite non-title character.
You can even, John, you might just have to double down on it because I might not even say everything needs to be said. But
right.
Killmonger, hands down, like John said a little earlier, is the best villain in the MCU to date. I don't even think Thanos is up there, in my opinion.
Ooh, crazy.
I have Killmonger at number one. Well, you know, like if you want to call it tie. So I do see him as sort of an anti-hero as well because of how in-depth he is as a character.
No doubt.
And, you know, I will say this, Killmonger's reasoning for doing what he did made sense. Like he saw a lot of underprivileged people in the world that needed to not longer be that, right? And he stepped up for it. He just did it in a maniacal kind of villain way.
Right.
In a Captain Genocide kind of way, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, literally. What I pray. So for sure, anti-hero more than anything, probably. But he was just so impactful. Michael B. Jordan killed the role in every way you can possibly think of. Again, back to Goosebumps, like just every scene, you could almost like Michael B. was actually going through it in real life. Like he had just poured all his emotion into it. I felt what he felt. I agreed with what he said. I just didn't agree with the genocidal stuff, I guess. But you know, no question, top 3 favorite character for me, and easily my favorite villain.
Yeah,
And,
Definitely top tier villain, no doubt. He would not be my character, but I'm gonna go to John next.
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Shuri then. If you're gonna take Killmonger,
Oh my gosh, I didn't think you would. All right,
I love Shuri.
I
thought,
need to figure this out.
that was my backup if I didn't get to go first because I knew that Killmonger was going to be off the table. But I think Shuri is like the not just like great comedic relief, which she is, but she's just she sets the family dynamic so well with T'Challa and all of the Wakandans. I don't know. She's such a cool character. Super funny. I love how she is like the who is it? Is it Killmonger who says it? Like you've trusted the fate of this technology to a young girl, and like yeah, she is super young, but she's crushing it. She's like a genius. Yeah, she's super charming. She's super funny. She's my clear number 2 if I can't have Killmonger.
Well, she was my clear number 1. So, yeah, she is awesome, and it's funny because I didn't resonate. Like her character doesn't resonate with me the first time I saw this for whatever reason. I kind of was like, all right, she's a punk. She's not that funny. But the more I've watched this, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I love her.
Yep.
And I kind of hope that she takes front and center when we get to Black Panther 2. I'm sure it'll be a little bit ensemble, but like if you could pinpoint one central character, like I'd love for it to be her.
Yeah, I agree.
Her performance is so good. And they really did a nice job in figuring out the sibling dynamic, where I think a lot of times in movies there's not that playfulness that feels real, and they felt like they were really siblings in a royal setting,
right?
Like the way they joked around, and she picked on him and vice versa, and
what are those?
I love that.
One of my favorite moments ever. Like, what are you doing? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's great on so many levels. All about her. But alas, I have to pick a character. I maybe not as front and center as we would think, but I like M'Baku a lot.
Yeah, M'Baku's awesome.
He's actually really, to me, a relatively deep character, where he's made out to be a jerk at first. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if he's going to land on your side at the end of the day. But those thoughts are quelled as we get towards the middle to latter half of the movie. And what he does, he could have screwed over T'Challa and just let him die, but like his people go and save him. Like that shows, okay, deep down he's really a good guy. And then we see him spill into Infinity War, and he's on the front line right there, right, with Okoye and T'Challa. So I also liked his humor, because he's such a tough, rough guy. You're like, oh my gosh, I would not want to like run into him if he was in a bad mood.
Right.
But then he pulls that humor, and it kind of makes it a little bit funnier, because you wouldn't expect it from someone like him. So no shortage of characters that you could choose. My gosh, you got any of the Dora Milaje, you've got Okoye, you've got T'Challa's mother. Why can I not remember his girlfriend's name?
Oh,
this is terrible. Anyway, it's quite the ensemble, and they all get their fair share of time, right? The MCU does a nice job with balance with these. So this is no exception to that. All right, I like that. I like how we kind of each took each other's, like we had to like slide down the ladder there a little bit.
Right.
It's what it is. I set myself up. I rolled the dice and confidently thought I could go third, but sometimes I'm not the brightest guy. Is what it is. So, I think, yeah. Do you guys mind if I jump? I don't have nearly as many notes as I usually do, which is everyone's probably like, thank you. So what I've got in terms of just my little bullet points throughout the movie, sometimes it's specific, sometimes it's just a general thought. First off, general thought. This is unlike any other MCU movie. Like, this really felt fresh. It was unique. It brought in a character that we all wanted to know so much more about, as we saw him in Captain America Civil War. And it felt like just a beautiful new chapter in this entire saga, while not distancing itself from that main Infinity Saga line. When I think back to Civil War, and I think about Spider-Man jumping in and Black Panther and how exciting that was, I can honestly say I was just excited for Black Panther as I was for Spider-Man, which is saying a lot. Spider-Man is creme de la creme. He's the top of the top when it comes to Marvel, right? He's the most popular superhero. Black Panther, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm super excited for Tom Holland, but now I want to see where this guy goes. I want to find out a little bit about Wakanda, about that family dynamic. Like, could not wait for that movie after that. And we get 2 years later after Civil War, and it was a beautiful thing.
Absolute banger.
Speaking of bangers, soundtrack. We talked about it. The soundtrack is gold. Not just the soundtrack that you can listen to where it's music written for the movie, but the musical score itself. All these little musical cues. So I find it amazing. Like, the smallest little cue shows up in movies down the road, and you know exactly where we're going next.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe what that sound is, but everybody who's listening to this knows exactly what we're talking about. That is like the most well done piece of music in the MCU. It is so perfect, and it's used so perfectly in this movie so many times in different types of moments. Like when someone just shows up and you don't expect them to, there's that little tremble, but then it's also like stretched out into a full score, which is really, really good too. It's perfect.
I think of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
Oh,
like halfway through that series, all of a sudden you're like,
yep,
who's going to be standing there?
Yeah.
They're from Wakanda. You just don't know who. Or as we get into Infinity War in the middle of or kind of the beginning of the movie-ish, first act, you get that little cue and you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to Wakanda. Like, that is brilliant. To be able to associate the audio there with where you think you're going next or where you're going next is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And they nailed it with that. And like we talked about earlier, the soundtrack itself, where we had the actual rap music, a lot of it not used in the movie, but more to celebrate the movie. Man, just killer.
Oh, I have one random thing before I forget about it. This kind of can just slide into your notes.
Sure.
Did you watch the movie on your 4K Blu-ray? Did you watch the disc?
Yes.
I don't know if you've watched it on Disney Plus yet. The opening Marvel scroll is all T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman stuff. It's really, really cool. I don't know if it was like purple tinted when the movie first came out, because that would make sense, but it was in this, and it's just all Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa stuff, and it's awesome. It's just like they start the movie, and all of a sudden I have a freaking tear in my eye. It's awesome.
Like when they did the Stan Lee stuff.
Yes.
Right? Like, oh, dude, that's awesome.
So they replaced that. So it's worth firing up real quick on Disney Plus just to see that new version.
Most of the movies that we've watched, I've watched on Disney Plus, but this one I had the 4K disc for, so I jumped in there.
Doesn't get any better.
Exactly. So that's an awesome little Easter egg that I did not know. Also, next bullet point for me, I say this is an origin story. It's really not, but it's done. It's done in the MCU way where they figured it out, right? Like, I hate to always go back to this. I think at DC, like, how many times do we need to see Batman's origin story? It's fine, whatever. We get Spider-Man: Homecoming. That is like an origin. It's not really, but it's our first exposure really to him getting his full story. But we didn't have to go back and see how he got there again. It was the same with this to me. Like, we got those seeds. We got a really big life event in Civil War that affected T'Challa, but they do that over and over, even without getting into spoiler territory. Shang-Chi, like we just did it again. It's amazing. They're so good at that, and I feel like, origin stories, when you go back to the roots in the beginning, it's not necessarily a waste of time, but when you do that, especially in the middle of a huge saga with a continuing storyline in a universe, it kills momentum, or it can at least dampen it. Here, not the case at all. They found the formula to introducing superheroes without dragging anything down or slowing the momentum. I mean, do you guys agree or no?
Absolutely. I think that's a good point. They're not necessarily all origin stories. This wasn't Black Panther's origin story. It wasn't Spider-Man's origin story. They're introduction stories. It's our introduction to that character in the MCU. And you're right, they found such a good way to do that without having to give us the origin story, like actual origin of how, they got their powers and XYZ.
I think they just found a good balance of giving them that platform and not having to just, like you said, kind of just go back to. I mean, but they had some, it was honestly, in my opinion, more so a Killmonger origin story, right? Like, why was he who he was? And just, to see the 90s Black Panther and the 90s Wakandans, that was really cool to see too. So they found a way to keep us interested with the backstory stuff and not just have it be dead, right? At the same time, we're looking at it like, oh, okay, this is T'Chaka, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is Killmonger's dad. I can't remember Killmonger's dad's name at the time, or right now, but yeah, that was really cool to see too.
Heartbreaking story, right? Like family pitted against family just because it was what they had to do, right? They believed it was their duty, and they swore their allegiance to Wakanda. Doesn't make it any less tragic what happens there. And I mean, the best kind of villains that you see in movies are the ones that you can really sympathize with, and Killmonger's really easy one to sympathize with. One thing I did skip before, which we can get into now, is that moment. So we always talk about that moment of the movie, whether it was a quote, a funny sequence, anything that kind of stuck out to you. I've got a handful, but I'm just going to narrow it down to one. The ritual combat scene is the first one with M'Baku. That is just wonderfully done. Though everybody standing basically on the side of the cliff is some of the best, like some of my favorite scenery in terms of images we've seen in movies in general, let alone the MCU. We talked about the flip flops already. That's hysterical. We didn't talk about this. The kinetic redistribution.
Oh, so cool.
Shuri basically like setting him up to fail, and then him being just panicking and being like, delete that footage. Like, that's hysterical to me, especially now knowing that I can't not laugh at it. It's hysterical. But if there's one moment for me, it'd be the advice that T'Challa gets from his dad, T'Chaka. Two lines stuck out. He says, surround yourself with people you trust, talking about him being a king. And I think that's a really good line for all of us, whether it's our day-to-day, our family, our jobs, school. You really should surround yourself with people that are going to set you up for success. But I've definitely learned that over the years. Sometimes I've gotten in front of it, and sometimes I had to learn that the hard way. Secondly, he said, it's hard for a good man to be a good king. And I'm like, that gives me goosebumps every time.
Right.
Yeah, I can imagine. That is what a burden, right? Like to be placed in such a position to lead and serve, and to say that you can't be both. It's part of why I love T'Challa as a character, because I think he proves that you can be a good man and a good king, but it's really difficult. So that dialogue there is my favorite moment from the entire movie in a movie full of them. So did either of you guys have a moment that stood out that you want to talk? JT?
So it kind of piggybacks off of that with you. T'Challa didn't just get there with what his father said, right? He got there with what Killmonger did, and a lot of the things Killmonger said. So Killmonger kind of opened T'Challa's eyes to see there's things in the world going on outside of Wakanda that you could help, right? Where Killmonger wanted to do it in the villain way, T'Challa, eventually we see at the end of the movie that he does it the right way, right? Mm-hmm. And my favorite scene was the end scene when they after their fight in the sunset scene, and Killmonger says, I wrote it down, the quote: "Bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships because they knew death was better than bondage." So that in itself, I'm like, damn. Like, as soon as he said that in theaters, I'm just jaw dropping. Every time I hear it, same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think for T'Challa, just seeing his death, which there's an argument as to whether he's actually dead. I dig too far into theories in Marvel, but either way, that impacted him so much, right? Like he decided at that point, the good man is going to be the good king and vice versa, and I'm going to make an impact on the world. And we see it right away, right? Like he goes to Compton, where Killmonger used to live, and all because of the lessons he learned. It wasn't just from dad; it was from the sister, it was from the mom, it was from Killmonger, and I think Killmonger was the catalyst to make T'Challa do the right thing. And God, Chadwick just played the role so well, and we all miss him, and I thank him for suffering almost, right, to do to do the roles he did for us for all these movies, and not ever complain from what we can see, right? He still did the movies, so just a great message for everybody, not just for that culture. It's for all cultures, and help your neighbor, help the person next to you.
Yeah, man, it's an absolutely beautiful sequence, and whether it's from the sentiment standpoint of what T'Challa is trying to do, like he's allowing his cousin to see that, right? He never saw a sunset, and his dad told him about it. instead of just letting them die where they were. And even to the point of saying, we can heal you, right? Like we can find a way. And then even visually, like it's just beautiful. It is a beautiful, beautiful sequence for a number of reasons. So JT, that's a really good pick. John, what do you got?
How am I supposed to come back from that? You guys got these like incredible heartfelt messages. I just got the cool looking stuff. I was gonna go with something way less cool than that. I don't know, man. I don't think I want to do one now. I think I want to just.
You have to. It's a rule.
It's the rule. All right. So the one I have in mind is not even a scene. It's literally just one shot. So the throne room scene when Killmonger is walking to the throne and the camera's upside down and it just slowly twists and distorts. And the music is so perfect, like it just signaling his transition to his very short but his very real rule of Wakanda. That's just one of those scenes and one of those shots that always sticks with me. And again, I don't have a emotional message to go with it like you guys do, but it looks really cool.
Dude, stop it. That is really cool. Trust me, I'd bust your balls if it wasn't. So it's symbolic too, right? Though, because what's down is now up, right? Like there's something there other than it just looking really cool. That, oh my gosh, when that drum beat hits, good call, man. I think you did a great job following us up there.
I think it might be my favorite one shot in the MCU. Not to be confused with Marvel one shots, but it might be like the best one shot in the MCU.
I don't remember the Killmonger 180. Yeah, good stuff. So, man, I mean, I think we could both list a bunch of things there. But last few notes that I have, I maybe want to, I don't know if you guys have more to say on this, but talk about the casino scene. The more I've watched this movie, so like it hit me the other day, this feels like a video game. Like think about it.
Feels like Uncharted.
Yeah, it's 100%. You go in and they're setting up like, or even like I'm thinking of like Ghost of Tsushima, where they're like, okay, here's 5 different tactical approaches we could take. That's what they're doing the whole time. They're setting up, okay, there's an American over there.
Yeah.
Here's so-and-so. And like, it's amazing. Or maybe like an Arkham game, like, all right, you got to get to the top here. You cannot be noticed. You cannot be had. Like, I
say Uncharted because in Uncharted 4, there's a scene that is like almost identical to it. It's that auction scene with Nate and Sully and his brother, I forget his name, Sam. It's just like every time I either watch that scene or play that part of the game, I think of the other one. They're so similar, and I just love it.
That's probably what triggered that for me.
Yep.
Can't wait to see that on PS5, by the way.
Maybe.
Uncharted 4, it's going to be beautiful. Already is. I already talked about this. I think it's the best color palette in the MCU, especially with that purplish hue in a lot of sequences throughout the movie.
You could almost just say that in passing, but there's a lot to choose from now. I mean, that's not the first time we've had that conversation when we've got movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok. Now, when it comes to color palette, like they really have done a good job at establishing color in these films, and I think those are your 3 standouts at least at this point, or even period. Guardians, Ragnarok, and Black Panther. But yeah, I think I might be with you. I might be with you, and this is the coolest one.
Yeah, coolest for sure, for me at least. I love the irony of the one-on-one scene with Claw and Ross, if for no other reason that we've got a few Hobbit alumni in there. Very prominent characters, if you recall from a few years back with Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman.
Yep.
So those two have a nice chemistry, of course. Okay, the little Star Wars thing that I mentioned earlier. So Black Panther does this cooler if not better. Also, holograms. When they're talking to people, like anytime like a new character gets a hologram in Star Wars. So like I think about like Rogue One, and you had Galen Erso. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Mads Mikkelsen in hologram form. That's really cool. Like I would love to have a version of myself just to like put on a desk. Like that'd be sweet. This looks really cool. Doesn't look fake. It is. I don't know, John. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it looks like really good CG.
Agreed.
And
it's like hyper stylized, and it matches Wakanda so well.
It is. It looks good. It's crisp. It almost like pops out like 3D on your TV. It's just that was the one thing that I was like, you know what? As cool as I think Star Wars is, they may have done it better or cooler. So that's where I went with that. Last thing I had is M'Baku laughing at his own joke. So we get shortly after T'Challa's family arrives to his throne, which, by the way, that is a really cool setup. He's like on the side of the mountain with just I don't know that where his throne is looks awesome.
The Jabrari tribe. Oh yeah, I think they have the coolest aesthetic out of any of the Wakandan tribes. Like,
Agreed.
They're awesome.
They're like dogs, right? Like that's kind of the thing, like dogs and cat. So
Right.
he laughing at his joke about not eating them because his kids are vegetarian. I think it's hysterical because only he thought it was funny.
Right.
And that comes from him being this big, hulking, intimidating guy that would mess you up. All of a sudden, he's got a sense of humor. Oh, wait, he's got some heart. He saved T'Challa. Like, that was the moment for me where I was like, I really like this guy.
So this is probably my first time seeing the Winston Duke in anything. Maybe I've seen him in something and didn't realize it. But after going from seeing him as M'Baku to seeing Us the next year, and he's just like an absolutely hilarious dude. If you ever seen Us, I love him in that movie, and it's so different from this like literal beast of a man in M'Baku and the character he plays in that movie. It's crazy. He's got incredible range and is super, super funny.
Yeah, I've not seen him in anything else, but I will have to, hearing that.
I mean, the movie Us is like most of the cast of Black Panther. Like all of the main characters in Us are from Black Panther.
Yeah, you've got me sold there.
Yep.
That's all I had on notes. Did you guys have any of your own that you wanted to bring up? Any moments, bullet points, etc.?
Covered a lot of it.
All right.
Yeah,
So
same here.
we're about to get to the moment, the rankings. We're gonna rank this thing. We're gonna see where Black Panther falls on the officially unofficial list here at the Geekiverse for the MCU to date rankings. Want to mention one more time. The show is sponsored by Fantastic, a division of 26 Shirts. Go to 26shirts.com. Pick a shirt or two or three. Hell, fill up your cart and go do some good. Incredible designs, whether it's pop culture, t-shirts, Bills Mafia, you name it. We're back in back in the swing of football season. And $8 of every shirt goes to a family in need, a charity in need, or an individual in need. $1.2 million have been raised to date that goes directly to those charities, families, and individuals. 26shirts.com/fantastic. Headed up by our good friend Del Reed, who feel like we kind of have to have on the next episode. It's going to be tough to do Infinity War without him.
We got to try to get him back for Infinity War. If not Endgame or both of them, but yeah, we got to try to figure that out.
Well, we'll have to go big. That's for sure. So, John, do you want to pull up the rankings, catch us up? You tell me. I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Yeah. So I got them up now. So we've done 17 of these. Wow. We can't believe we made it this far. There's so many movies. We've done so many of these. So last week we had a new number one. Thor Ragnarok sits atop of the charts now. It passed Captain America: Civil War. So I'll read off the full ranking here quickly for the audio listeners. We've got number 1, Thor Ragnarok; 2, Civil War; 3, Spider-Man: Homecoming; 4, Guardians 2; 5, Guardians 1; 6, The Avengers; 7, Avengers: Age of Ultron; 8, Winter Soldier; 9, Iron Man; 10, Iron Man 3; 11, Ant-Man; 12, Doctor Strange; 13, Iron Man 2; 14, Captain America: The First Avenger; 15, Thor; 16, Thor: Dark World; and number 24, The Incredible Hulk.
Technical question, John. Would Incredible Hulk now rank 26?
You know what? You're getting crazy. Yes, there are 2 new MCU movies, and I have not made a graphic for that, so technically
we got time.
You're right. You're right. I got some work to do. We'll get there.
I just wanted to bring it up. Okay.
I will say this, not for Incredible Hulk, that'll never happen, but with all this new content coming out, it makes me go back and watch movies related to that, like the What If episodes and a couple other things.
Yeah, I watched Iron Man 3 recently.
And I want to kind of like rate, I don't know, just the more stuff, not the specific, I'm just saying it. You look back, you're like, wait, was that intended? You know, it's just a couple things you look back at, you're like,
for sure.
Okay.
I hear you. So you're
might
trying
be fun to do some lists at the end,
just like a retrospective.
Say, now that we've gotten here, what would your individual list be? John, I feel like you maybe sent me this a while back. It was like a ranker. Like basically it'd say, do you like this movie better than this one?
Oh, yeah. A website.
And then you would choose one, and it would basically like really sort out what I felt like was a really accurate list for you.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know. It made it very black and white.
We should do that. Yeah, I'll find that website. It's literally you just pick this or that, and it keeps asking you until it narrows down with like an algorithm, and it shows you your ranking. So yeah, we'll find that. I am also keeping my own list on Letterboxd. If you have it Letterboxd, follow me there if you want to sneak peek at my list. But yeah, I'm keeping my own as well for this rewatch.
Well, shall we?
Yeah, where do we start? So man, we're all pretty high on this, right? We're all pretty high on this. We can start. Anybody have a suggestion? Where's a good starting point? Ahead of Iron Man? Start there, work our way up?
I'd be good with that.
Man, am I crazy to say over? I mean, you know how much I love Winter Soldier. I think we start above that right away.
Okay, because
I'm good with that too.
you knowing how the two of us feel about that movie, then sure,
Yeah,
that works.
I'm good with it.
You would have been the hold up there.
Exactly.
Yeah, automatic 8. Automatic.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
so we'll start with it in between Winter Soldier and Ultron. So what do we think? We liking this better than Age of Ultron?
Yes.
It's a
That
yes.
hurts, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a yes all around. I'm so with you. I'm never gonna stop talking about this. The further I get away from Age of Ultron, the more I love that movie.
Like,
Good.
Yeah,
It's gonna go so far
got gypped.
down. It doesn't deserve to be out of the top 10. I'm so sad.
I know
Okay,
it's going
all
to.
right.
Well, listen. There's two more Avengers movies. It's gonna happen eventually.
I know,
I mean,
I
I
odds are-
wanted to though. Makes
Yeah.
me sad.
Me
Okay.
too.
it's okay.
What about the original Avengers? We think Black Panther's ahead of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I agree as well. What about Guardians of the Galaxy? Is Black Panther?
Here's where it gets dicey. I need a minute.
Yeah, you can take your minute.
You guys chat.
John, I think where are you at with that?
Yes.
You think it's better than Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yep.
I am going to peter off the path here. This is where I would stop it. And that's kind of where my original discussion and my original impressions of the film at the beginning of the episode kind of stem from, is because the first thing I did before we recorded this is I sat down and looked at the ranking and tried to like visualize where I would have this, and it ended up being right above Avengers and below Guardians. And that's where, like, I just came off the high of watching this movie. I enjoyed every second of it, but then I started to compare it to all these movies ahead of it, and that's why I maybe started on like a more sour tone than I meant to, just because I'm thinking of how much I love Guardians 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Civil War, and Ragnarok, and I'm like, man, Black Panther's incredible. It does such a good job. I just like these other movies better, and that's where I lay. I don't put it ahead of Guardians.
So I think Joe's with me, hopefully,
We'll see.
but I know he's gonna stop at 4.
Ooh, okay.
I know you,
That's a prediction right there. Joe, what about
Joe. What?
Okay,
5?
so just to be clear, we're asking if this is better than Guardians 1. Yes,
Right.
Correct.
according to our list.
According to our list, which is the official list.
The official list, yes. How could I question that? It is going to stay.
It's gonna stay at 6. I thought we'd be in the same boat there. I didn't.
JT, I thought about it. I think about that. I mean, wow. A few years ago, Josiah, I'd be smacking myself to even think. But I would have. I debated.
Oh hell no! I'm
Oh, he's snapping it.
I'm snapping.
He's not
No.
even gonna let me fix the list
No.
first. I'm still moving
No,
stuff
no.
around.
Damn the list. You can do what you want. I'm snapping. It's up.
You guys are trying
Put
to
it
kill
up.
my Guardians.
Put it up.
Think of it.
Do you have any snaps left,
Put it
dude?
up.
I feel you snap every other week.
I don't care.
Did you do it? Did you do more than one?
No, he just did the one. I think
just did
I think
the
you guys have both
one.
used one.
Yes. Yeah,
Maybe
just
he
one.
did too, but one we didn't count.
Well,
One
the one we didn't count.
we
Right.
had the wrong list. We had the rankings were messed up, so it
Right,
didn't.
and I won that one, but I'm snapping. and I'm telling you guys right now, I'd be damn shocked if it does not win.
I'm with you.
I
I'm
think
with
it's
you.
50-50.
It's a good shot. You have a good shot here. So yeah,
I will not be surprised either way. There are people who are passionate about the movie Black Panther, like Winter Soldier, where again, not a bad movie. All these are good to a degree.
Right.
It's just, will it outweigh the popularity,
Of
the
Guardians.
general popularity of the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah. So if you're new, if you're somehow just hopping into this podcast in week 18, the three of us each have what we call Thanos Gauntlet Snaps. So we each have 3 of them. We can use them anytime we feel like the list is not where it needs to be. So basically, you can take 2 movies that are touching, and you can snap them to get the bottom one to hop the one ahead of it. Now, you don't just get it by snapping. We put a poll up on our Twitter, so twitter.com at @the_Geekiverse. We're gonna put a poll up. It's gonna simply say which is the better movie, Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy. If you all agree with John, he gets his wish, and Black Panther could move to 5 ahead of Guardians. So that will go up as soon as this episode goes up. The poll stays up for 3 days, and see what happens. See what happens, John. It's
wisely.
Yeah, it's gonna be close, and it's a good
top
snap.
5 for good, but it won't. We already know what's gonna happen with the rest of them.
Right.
This makes me so mad. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
Joe, I had a plan.
Hey, just use this.
I thought you were going with me to take it to 5, Joe.
JT, I'm a little bit surprised.
And I was still gonna. I knew you. I literally, as soon as we got started this ranking, I said, "There's no chance in hell he's gonna put it above 4 or at number 4." So I was gonna snap for that, but now I got to snap for this crap.
Here's the thing.
Here we go.
I may. Oh man. I may have said in a vacuum that this is better than Spider-Man Homecoming. But we've had this issue, right? Where because now we're getting into the weeds a little bit, finally,
Right, yeah.
where we've got some depth on this list.
Right.
Meaning quantity. So we'll see, I think it would be better than that one, but I don't know if I'd get it past this one. And
pick your
that's where I'm
battles.
at. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, good luck, JT, because you're going to need it. But I think
I'm winning.
I'm sorry, it's been a while. I got to get this out. I'm excited to see what happens there. So you've got 1 snap left after this. John has not used any.
correct.
I've used 1.
Yep.
I think I just used the 1. Okay, just catching up here a little bit. Got it.
John, did you snap for Spidey?
No, I didn't snap.
I snapped to try to get Guardians Volume 2 above Spider-Man Homecoming, I believe.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do any snaps. I don't think
That's
so.
good.
We can. So we
No,
can audit later, but I don't think so.
It doesn't make a difference. I just thought you did for some reason.
John, I'm going to need you to watch all previous 17 episodes. You don't have to watch the ones for the Disney Plus series. Just what we're doing here.
Maybe I'll just go to our Twitter account and look at the polls that we posted. It'd be a little easier.
Okay, fine.
I'll do.
Fine.
All right, so Guardians, or not. Sorry, I'm sorry, not yet. Black Panther is our number 6. We bump it ahead of Avengers. We think number 6 is good. Joe and I agree. John does not. We will see next episode if John can prevail and get Black Panther to hop ahead of Guardians. Gonna be tough.
Oh my gosh.
So excited.
I like it. This is going to be a tough poll.
Yeah.
Well, you heard John. Go to our Twitter, which is twitter.com/the_Geekiverse or @the_Geekiverse. Get your vote in because it's probably going to matter. We'll see what happens here. Guardians or Black Panther. Guys, amazing episode here. Really good to be this deep into the MCU. We had Black Panther today, but next week, guys, I can't believe we're here.
Oh my god.
Here we go.
That is a cool looking Blu-ray.
Goodness.
This is my favorite steelbook, I think, of all the ones that I have.
I was well out of the
so-
steelbook game when it came to that movie.
I'm so I'm not as high on steelbooks as most people, but if it's Star Wars or Marvel, I feel like I gotta get it. So
I guess I just mean even physical stuff. I stopped buying physical.
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I knew what you meant.
But that's good looking.
Guys, you got to tune in to our next episode here on the Geekiverse station, whether that's youtube.com/thegeekiverse, our website, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hopefully we have Del Reed on that episode. Del, we got to figure out a way to get you on there, man. I'm sorry. This is too big. I mean, your vote won't count, but it's okay because it may not matter. So any wrapping thoughts, anything we missed here as we get ready for Infinity War? John?
No, I'm having a good time, man. We're in the home stretch, and this is just a ton of fun.
JT. He's ready. He's just sitting down here.
Love you guys, but I'm still mad about it. No, I'm excited, dude. I mean, we know what's up next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, much like the Avengers went into Infinity War, fractured. The Geekiverse crew fractured here over this vote.
Yeah,
I don't know how we'll come back from it.
I'm wearing a full Thanos costume next episode.
Holding you to that.
Okay.
Here's
if
something,
you don't, I'll be really upset.
Here's something you can hold me to. I am going to watch this movie twice before we record. I'm gonna watch it
tonight.
I'm watching it tomorrow, and then I'm watching it the day before whenever we record. I've held off for a few months because I knew we were getting there. I did watch it during quarantine, like when we were, peak, not allowed to leave the house times, but I haven't watched it in months, and I'm going all in, man. I'm going all in.
I have not watched this at all. This is the one that's killing me. I don't know why I waited.
You haven't watched this since?
No, since it's come out, but not since we started this series, which was really in the beginning of the kind of first wave of everything that was going on. So
Summer 2020, right? So about a year, at least a year for you.
Easily.
Right.
And it hurts. I'm going to unleash all of that pent up energy as I watch that.
It's going to be a 3-hour episode.
I was going to say we maybe should consider splitting it into 2 episodes, much like they did with the 3rd chapter of the Avengers. So it's going to be a long episode. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. There's no getting around it, but do your homework. Watch the movie. We want to hear your opinions on Black Panther. Next week, we're going to want to hear everything about Infinity War. You know the format of the show, your favorite moment, your favorite non-title character, which I don't even know. Do we pick like 5 characters each next week?
Who's the title character in Infinity War?
I'm going to say
Thanos.
Or we could also say it's called Avengers, so no Avenger. Just kidding.
No, I think everybody's fair game for that next week.
I think everybody absolutely is fair game next week. It's going to be awesome. I'm definitely picking Maw. Just kidding.
Spoilers.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of the MCU Reviewed as presented by Fantastic. We've had a blast. We hope you enjoyed the show and you come back for the next visit with Purple People Eater himself, Mr. Thanos. For John, for JT, we will see you later. I'm Josiah. Thanks again.